the opportunity to succeed, and that comes with education, and that comes with opening up doors. And at the end of the day, the SUNY systems is a wonderful education. You can't get in there now because they're so full, because the people can't afford to go to the private institutions anymore.
This is from cost point of view, though. From
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. I'm not saying educationally. I'm just saying, financially.
Yeah.
Financially, the parents, and I'm not saying everybody. The people that I've talked to, my personal friends and that I've talked to, and they're struggling along like everybody else.
So the problem that we talked about, so on, it's been many years, right? Every sort of 2 years election comes around, people run for office. We all say the same thing, and it seems to me that this problem persists.
Well, you know what? Usually on the state level, you would have heard unfunded mandates.
Right.
The unfunded mandates. That's the or Medicaid. Medicaid. No, I'm going to concentrate on business. That's where I will concentrate on, because at the end of the day, unfunded mandates, they are what they are. I have an idea of what I would do with them as far as putting a circuit breaker on anything like that, and then having the state obviously pay for anything, but that's another whole issue. I will be concentrating on bringing business back to New York and making New York the place to be.
So can you elaborate a little bit more? What areas, what sort of a business you think that the New York State is optimum for drawing business?
Well,
in?
listen, they just had Governor Cuomo's running this commercial, Startup New York, where they give you 10 years of free taxes, and I don't even know the other. I haven't found a business that has used it. It is an election year. They've spent close to $200 million advertising that in New York.
200 million?
Yeah. The money. Yes, I would be advertising that outside of New York. Please come to New York. This is what we're going to do.
200 million?
Yeah.
Well, divided by our population, we better
That'd be
take
a good
that
chunk.
money.
That'd be a good chunk, right?
Right.
It's an election year, Dr. Chang, and you know what? The crazy things are people do crazy things.
Yeah, certainly, you are absolutely right that if you advertise, you want to advertise outside to get some of the people coming here to do business.
Right. That's what you think. And you look on TV and you see Startup New York, and I don't know one place where anybody's do you? Have you know?
No, certainly not in our area. You don't see any new business starting up.
My understanding of it was for manufacturing, companies and things like that. But I have not found one business.
Even there, I wonder. The recent news, I don't know what status is, that IBM is selling one of the manufacturing business, which is in maybe even in your district, right? Dutchess County.
Dutchess County.
Yeah.
It would be in Dutchess County. It's outside my district, but yes, I've heard. I heard a little rumor about that.
They want to get out of the manufacturing, and they're selling it, and of course, selling it doesn't mean we lose jobs per se, but in general, you know how businesses run. When people buy a business, the first thing they do is they trim they call it fat.
The fat.
Basically, it's the jobs. The jobs.
The high-paying executives.
And sometimes because they merge or the other, they have the duplication that is already figured out. So when they buy a new business, 1/3 of people is gone, right? So news like that doesn't help New York.
No. Like I said to you, it's the manufacturing plants that this was supposed to help. I don't know any of them that have used any of this Startup New York. My understanding is that there's been a little over a dozen.
But fundamentally, though, when you say bring business in, you really have to have a strategy. What area, for example, say energy, right? When you talk about energy, immediately people jump on New York State. I mean, you say, why didn't you want to do Shell, oil and this this new process technology? Again, New York puts a regulation and stopping. right?
Yeah. But that is exactly my point. When you have regulation after regulation after regulation, why do you want to come? Why do you, when you have to spend so much money to try and bust through that and then get taxed to death on top of that?
So what area do you think we really can attract business
Well, listen, America runs off a small business. Give them the opportunity to come in here and succeed. And there's no magic bullet to it. There's not okay, you're gonna, I mean, listen, we just talked about IBM leaving. That's someplace. That's one group that you should actually. I mean, wasn't PepsiCo going to leave Somers? They were interested in doing that and going 6 miles across over into Connecticut. What happened? You sit down and you negotiate with them. You figure out, do a pilot program. We've done that. We've done that with IBM down on off of 134. You've got to keep what you have and build on it. So, not only build on the big boys like IBM and Costco, but you also got to what do I want to say? Loosen up the regulations for the small business owner. And so you know as well as I do that America it relies on small businesses, and coming into New York, I mean you're taxed to death. Just to try and get open could cost you. It could take you an extra 2 to 3 months to get open, and that could be the end of opening or closing.
Right, but this tax issue always tied in with your revenue budget issue. I agree the tax is high for the business or small business, but cutting the tax means you're cutting your revenue. This is the chicken and egg and horse and cart issue. You say you want to bring business in, and if business is not in, the small business needs a tax relief. When you cut the tax, your revenue goes down, you have deficit. And when you deficit, you don't have money to really sort of to push to draw business in. This whole cycle seemed to be self-defeating, and we had never seen anything really break out of the cycle.
Well, like I said to you, my idea is to create a commercial tax base. Once you create the commercial tax base and you bring in, you loosen up the regulations. You open your doors to the people. You give them whether you want to give them a little tax abatement, whether it's for the first 2 years, 3 years, or 5 years, whatever it happens to get in, and gradually move them up into the normal tax bracket. That will create a small commercial tax base for you. You want to bring in the big boys, that's going to bring a larger commercial tax base. At the end of the idea, what I figured out in the town of Yorktown was we should be up around 27, 28%. I believe that. That's where I'd like to go. We were at 9.8%. We're moving up in the right direction. And that's
what's this 9.8%?
Commercial tax base. In the town of Yorktown, we're 42.
How do you calculate this?
We're 42 square miles. I worked with a gentleman on it, and there's a little formula of figuring out.
Oh, so you're talking about the area
correct
percentage. Okay.
Correct. Yep. So in the town of Yorktown, we were at 9.8%. I believe that we should be up around 27, 28%.
But this argument sometimes may not go well with every town. For example,
of course,
even
absolutely.
I think Somers, where I live.
Yep.
I think they are fairly conservative there, and they don't want the kind of a high percentage commercial base.
But you have two big companies in there that are paying a significant amount of taxes, and that's why you can keep they pay the majority. You have two big boys up here versus the little guys down here.
Yeah, but that really doesn't sort of work forever, because the big boys ask for tax relief, and the school has been hurting because this tax surgery, that, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Pepsi comes in, and everybody, even now New York State Gas and Electric, NISEC comes in. Everybody wants to, sort of get tax relief. So
it's a double-edged sword.
Right,
yeah.
So this process is cutting into your town budget and your school budget, and school is in trouble, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's like I just said to you, it's a double-edged sword. So you've got to be a little bit creative and try and think outside the box with regards to, and like here's your school taxes. I think make up roughly 70% of your tax bill. So when you have, like in the town of Yorktown, God willing, we keep Costco moving forward. They open up, they're gonna they're gonna give you a nice chunk of roughly $500,000, if not more, each year towards the school budget.
Yeah, I think what we have just talked about. It seemed to me that, we have a dilemma here. Increased tax base, bringing more business in, will impact your way of living. You will impact your environment. It will impact the density of traffic and all of this stuff things. So that is a conflict. Where other issues, some other areas that would probably help this situation is, are we really running a very efficient state? Are we overpaying our public employees? Are we having every agency, every department that is, running on a
That's a
lean
great
and mean
question.
basis?
That's a great
right?
question.
And I think in those areas, in my opinion, that doesn't have this kind of self-defeating, conflicting, situation. It should be naturally targeted as something to do. But of course, in Albany, our assembly is filled with Democratic sort of representative. Somehow they are tying in with the process that support this process.
Bigger
government,
bigger government.
And more benefits, more
You hit the nail on the head, and it's
so
it's
that
really
process,
efficiency.
Yeah. So in my opinion, perhaps increasing tax base is a good thing to say, to do. In certain towns, people really love it, and so on. Some other towns may not. But
You're right. You're right.
But
Might
in
not work.
Albany, I think, if you really say, I want to nail this government down to be the most efficient government in the 50 states, if we could do that, okay, which includes your idea about DEP, all these people sitting 6 months, 3 months, and so on,
Yeah.
then at least, okay, that shouldn't be a controversial issue. Of course, you say, there's union behind, there's other things. But in my opinion, though, from a political position and political office doing legislation, you really have to look at the prospect of the whole state, the future of the whole state. What is the real problem you can handle that is really fairly, not controversial? And I think, I'm on school board for many years. I know the school budget problem, so on and so forth, is because the bloated project is not because we're paying more to the education. We're not saying that every kid is getting more, out of it. We are paying this whole machinery. I mean, look, I know that my school, say, superintendent may not like what I say. Look, what's the average pay for the superintendent in in New York State, right?
Yeah. It's
you know that?
I think it's close to a $250,000.
Yeah. So you know that.
So yeah,
right?
yeah. That's
How many other states or other jobs that is averaging $250,000?
well, I know in Fairfax, Virginia, they have one superintendent of the schools for the county.
So this is the type of issue I personally believe politicians and legislative representatives really ought to focus on, because when you have a non-controversial issue and genuinely would affect the well-being of the state or the efficiency of the state, you ought to tackle it.
But you just hit the nail on the head. Efficiency. So if you're efficient, you don't need the fat, so to speak.
Yeah.
If you're efficient, you get things done. If you're efficient, you're going to move progress forward.
Yeah.
You hit the nail on the head. It's a matter of being efficient.
Yeah.
And if you're not efficient in your own business, you're out of business.
Right.
Why should the government not be efficient? Because they can just sit on it? There was a great, what they did with the AMVATS bridge. The company that came in to fix the AMVATS bridge, talking about efficiency, I think they had given the incentive to the workers. You finish it early, there's a little bonus. They finished it early.
Right.
So there's nothing wrong with getting the project done and actually getting it done early. Whereas, oh, well, maybe if it's another month, we can, milk it out. But you know what? Efficiency is the key word, I believe.
Right.
And that goes across the board, where you can go into DEP, go into DEC, go into legislation, go into, the rules and the regulations.
Well, that certainly is the public sector's problem, okay? I mean, no question about it. I mean, if you look at the commercial, private industries, people do treat this efficiency as a serious, parameter. So every business really run pretty hard and lean, on
Well,
that
we've asked
basis.
the employees of the town of Yorktown, we need more with less. And they've stepped up to the plate, I got to tell you. We're wall-to-wall CSCA in the town of Yorktown, and our town employees do one heck of a job, and we're running pretty thin.
Yeah, some of the local town government actually is living up to the,
They are.
because the budget has to be passed and so on, and people pay taxes, already sort of breaking their theme. They can't afford. So our problem is the higher level government, the state government, the federal government. All these deficits are not going away.
But I think which is, I mean, and I'm not here to slam them, but it's trust. Look what's going on, and it starts from the top down. It starts from your leader down, and the trust factor has been completely broken, I believe, in the state of New York with regards to, when you're going to go up there and you say you're going to do something, do it, and then someone's looking at you and you're doing something wrong, and then all of a sudden you pull the rug out from underneath it. Listen. You know what? It's a big, huge thing. This is the reason why people don't like politicians, is because there's two sets of standards. There's the standards for the people, and then there's standards for them. And it's wrong.
Yeah.
It's absolutely wrong.
Yeah, so you and I, at least in this conversation, agreed on that efficiency is a important factor. That
No doubt.
Okay. And
No doubt.
also, part sort of related to the efficiency is how are people compensated. And recently, you've probably seen there's a circulation of a petition of our federal legislators, their benefits. Okay, if you look at all those numbers for a part-time job, some of this, right?
Yeah.
Part-time job, they are very well compensated, and even on healthcare, which you are in this business, people concerned with healthcare cost, and they are well paid, and that's why they don't want Obamacare, and all the senators and congressmen vote them out.
There's two sets of standards. There I go. And if it was such good stuff, that's what kind of upsets me a little bit. It's if it's not good for the people, and it's the two sets of standards. If it's not good for them, why should it be good for me?
Right.
If it's good for them, why should it not be good for me?
That's why I say when you or anybody go up to Albany, that question should be asked. What question should be really raised? Can Albany set the standard, the practice, so that they can really influence and trickle down? Because right now, I tell you, public service, it become people viewed as that's the only way I can retire. Because if I want to start a small business, if I want to work hard, I can't retire.
Yeah, you're right.
All right?
You're right.
So I have to be a public employee and policeman, or that is something wrong. Right?
I facetiously laugh here, but it's the truth. You know what I mean? That's a public perception of what's going on. And this is, like I said to you just before, I said this is part of the reason why people don't like politicians.
Right.
Is because they talk out of both sides of their mouth. You know what? The forefathers in the United States of America, they volunteered for this job. I believe there should be term limits. Anybody, look at the classic examples. Sheldon Silver up there, I don't know, 30 years? You can't get anything done.
26, I think.
26, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
close, off by 4. But my point is that, you know what? Go in, do your public service, and get out.
Yeah.
You know, or move to another level.
Right.
That's all. That's what I'm saying. And anybody who goes into it,
Mm-hmm.
It's a. I'm trying to find the right adjective for it, but you know what I mean. I thank you. You know what I mean, because it's not necessarily a glorious type of position to do, but you go in there, do your job, get out, have term limits, move on.
Yeah, I think, you probably remember this example when Chrysler Corporation of Trouble and so on, what's his name, the CEO?
Lee Iacocca?
Yeah, Iacocca. He says, I'll take a salary cut, I'll take $1 as my salary, right?
Yeah.
And that fixes the problem. They are setting an example. I don't say that our governor should take $1 home.
No, the point,
but
you're right.
My point is, as you say, you cannot have double standard. You cannot have, you say one thing, you do others, right? Mm-hmm. So somehow I encourage people that particularly freshmen in the sense you are not there being sort of corrupted by the existing environment. You go in there, look at what can you do, what's really the problem, how do you fix this?
Get your issue and go after it.
Yeah.
Get your issues and go after it.
Yeah, I remember, we interviewed, of course, cats or ball, and they'll help in, talk about. But sadly, I'm a little frustrated is that we're still talking about same problems.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's the bureaucracy. What I was telling you, it's almost translating that from the business up into that. And at the end of the day, go in there, and I know Senator Ball wasn't. As the old expression was, I know he's doing something right because Albany doesn't like him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you hold that with a crown on your head. But at the end of the day, there's some issues that obviously there's a lot of issues that are going on in New York State that need to be addressed, and it's just a matter of getting there. There's a process of getting there. With regards to now, I'm in the primary. September 9th. I got to get through that, and then move on to November. God willing, get through that, and then.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about
I'd love for you to do this in another year, and hold my feet to the fire and say, Terrance, you sat right on my show and you said that you were going to do this.
Right. Well, I'd like to help your process for the remaining time we have left. Okay, before September 9, the primary process, you need to do something here in the district. You would go door to door and so on, right?
Yes.
And after primary, you have your plan laid out?
I do.
Okay, talk a little bit about that.
Well, it's basically going out, and so September 9th would be the primary, and God willing, I win on that, and then it's a 7-week window, 7.5-week window to November 4th, and then at the end of the day, it's just more knocking on doors, getting out there, meeting people one-to-one.
Okay,
and talking.
I didn't make myself clear. I mean, after primary, you're running. I'm talking about against your opponent from the other party. Do you know who they are potentially, and so on?
Yes, it's the gentleman who ran against Senator Ball last time. He's come out and committed on the Democratic side.
Who's that?
Wagner, Justin Wagner.
Wagner, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you probably have to think about your plan. How do you deal with, the other side of the opponent, right?
Of course. Yeah. I'm not gonna unveil it on your show, though. I can't tell him that.
No, I agree.
I gotta do what I gotta do up until September 9th, and then we move on. I got a good bunch of guys that are helping me right now.
All right, that's fair.
That's
fair. I'm not going to drill you now, but we'll invite you back and we'll talk
absolutely.
about it. Now,
it's very nice you having me.
We are running time short now. Spend a minute or so. Talk to the camera, to the audience. How do they help you with your primary?
Sure. I would just like to just remind people, please come out and vote on September 9th. It is the primary for the 40th Senate District primary. I look forward to your support. I will work tirelessly in Albany for you, and I just wanted to remind you, please come out and vote. September 9th is imperative to the state of New York, because this seat really hinges on whether the state Senate stays in the majority or goes to the minority. So I look forward to your support. Please come out and vote.
Very good. Okay. So after September 9th, whether you win or Bob Castelli wins, and how are you guys going to work together?
Very simple. I respect Bob, and I think Bob respects me.
I'm forcing this because I'm more concerned about the party to win. So.
It's a non-issue, and I've already said this. If I did not win, win the convention, I would not have primaried Bob. Bob said he had to keep options open. We've had an open dialogue. I saw him up at the SAFE Act, that meeting that Governor future Governor Astorino held the other night. So at the end of the day, it was not a problem.
Good. I'm asking a final question. That is, in fact, I believe that is good for the party. Would you be interested in having Bob Castelli and yourself appear on the show?
Why not?
Huh? Okay, good. And I think he said the same thing.
Why not?
The reason I feel is you good candidates, whether you win, it wins, doesn't matter, the party wins.
Absolutely.
Okay, good.
No matter what, the party's going to win.
All right. That's a deal.
Thank you for having me, Doc.
Okay?
Appreciate it.
All right. Thank you for watching. As you know that we're starting this kind of interview series as the election draws near. So keep tuned in. This is the Scramble Game Show. Thank you. Good night. Very nice. Good.
Thank you.
I think last time when Bob was in